Simone Wilson here, sitting in the entrance hall to the National Radio Centre. Simone, good morning.
Morning.
And Simone, tell us what you do for the RSGB.
Well, I'm for my sins, I'm a director of the RSGB.
Yeah, what sins would they be?
Just that I love the hobby of amateur radio, and I'm giving something back.
Yeah, I think that's what we all do. We're all passionate about the hobby. Come on, what's your call sign, and tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, my call sign is M0BOX, formerly Golf 6 Bravo Oscar X-Ray, G6BOX. Took my license in 1981, came in from the CB world, part of that generation, and I've been licensed ever since and practiced the hobby. Took my Morse in 1997, 78, 98, something like that. I was frog marched into the test by my friends at the Southgate Amateur Radio Club and passed. So I have a 12 word, well, I took the 12 words a minute test. That's about my amateur radio credentials. I enjoy contesting. Sorry.
No. There's nothing wrong to apologise with contesting. I must admit, I am not a contester. However, next weekend I'll be sitting in the field doing SSB Field Day with the club. But don't apologise for contesting. And great you did do the Morse. There are a lot of M0s around that didn't now because of the way the licences have been issued. However, unfortunately, I never did the Morse. So
Well, that doesn't matter. I mean, you don't have to do the Morse to be a radio ham. It's just a mode now. At the risk of upsetting a lot of the old-timers, it's just another digital mode.
certainly is. It was the first digital mode ever to happen.
Correct.
Which they don't often realise.
No, and of course man-readable. Although I have known amateurs who can read witty and hold a conversation with you at the same time, and that's most perturbing.
Yeah. Well, just something else I do, and the listeners know, is I go to the Belfast, and one of the guys in the Belfast, Jürgen, can do Morse, 35 words a minute in 5 languages and still hold a conversation with you, and that just does my mind.
Yes, I knew. I've known amateurs like that. G3KTZ was one of those who could do exactly the same thing, hold conversations at 35 words a minute and talk to you at the same time. These old radio operators from the war, they had to do that because they were being given a message to be sent, and then they had to send it at the same time. That was necessary. It was part of their job, so they had to develop those skills.
Yeah, that sounds good. So, looking at this radio centre, it's a great achievement that the RSGB have got this on site here for people to come and have a look at. And I'm sure most people that arrive on site at Bletchley Park have come just to see the code breakers and the Enigma machines and things like that. So it must be quite a surprise for people to come in, and you've got a terrific display in here, haven't you?
Oh, the display is fantastic. I mean, when days gone past, I came to Bletchley Park when the radio station was in the main building, and it didn't tell a story. It didn't tell the part of radio in the story of Bletchley Park. Here at the National Radio Centre, it tells the story and shows how radio was key to the whole thing. How did those messages get to Bletchley? They came by radio from the voluntary interceptors and so on. So it is a vital part of the story, just as much as a vital part of the story is the computers and the computer museum and so on. Every little link, this completes the link, this National Radio Centre.
Certainly does, and it certainly produces us as radio amateurs in a reasonably good light. It shows that we're not a group of old people sitting in darkened rooms bashing away on the brass, which you're laughing about, but that's the public's perception often.
Well, of course, there is the Tony Hancock, it are raining here also perception, yeah. But no, it does show the diversity of our hobby, and our hobby is diverse. It covers so many aspects, and we demonstrate that here at the National Radio Centre. It's you go into the shack and you just it blows people away with what's going on in there. Satellite communications, communications sub-audible through FT8 is being relayed. We've got CW contacts being made. We've got SSB contacts being made. Everything is going on, and all at once, which is quite amazing.
Certainly is, and I like what you said, it are raining here. It certainly is, it's a bank holiday Sunday in the UK, but no, it's not stopped the general public actually wandering through, has it? We've had quite a lot of people wander around today.
Oh, we have had a lot of people. The National Radio Centre has become actually one of the go-to places on a visit to Bletchley Park. Of the number of visitors per day, we'd expect anything like 25 to 30% of those visitors to stop into the centre to say hello. We're on reasonably well one of the routes round so they wander past the door and they go, oh, it's nice, and we'll pop in. So yes, we've seen a huge increase, and that is in no part down to it's all down to Martin and his team of volunteers who are so professional in what they do in presenting our hobby to the general public.
Yeah, and certainly, I mean, this is not my first visit. This is my third visit to the National Radio Centre. First time we've done it on the podcast, but every time I've come here, the presenters have been very professional, very passionate about our hobby. And if you've got passionate people talking about our hobby in a passionate way, that's certainly engaging for the general public, isn't it?
Oh, very much so. There's so much to talk about. You've got the Fun Cube, which we're demonstrating all the time, and it sort of amazes people that this little tiny plastic box that we give them is the same size as a FunSat, and there's several of these whizzing around, and we can track them from here, and we get all the data from the experiments they're carrying on board. From that to we've got a live we're monitoring FT8 signals all the time. It is actually amazing what is being done here by the volunteer crew.
Yeah. Well, I think the other thing for the general public is, you talk about the Tony Hancock. Years ago, it was Morse and voice. Now amateur radio is just so much bigger in the digital modes, the amateur TV, the satellites, all those things, which makes our hobby massive. And there's pretty much something in it for everybody, I would suggest.
Of course there is. Radio underpins our lives nowadays. Everything is wireless. And when you actually relay to people and say, your lives are wireless, Wi-Fi, you rely on your Wi-Fi, you rely on your mobile phone, it's a wireless thing. You rely on the Bluetooth connections between things, all wireless. Your key fob to open your car, wireless. All these technologies are based on radio, our hobby. And that's where so much development work is done that leads to these commercial products that the world enjoys and benefits from. That when it all goes wrong, we're still here there.
We certainly are. And with our hobby, I think one of the nicer things, which is kind of a spin-off, is when you do our hobby being a technical hobby, you understand how things work and the concepts. And then when you're given a piece of technology that's a little bit alien from you, you can look at it and go, well, it has to work this way because the laws of physics work this way. And if you understand radio, as you say, a lot of communications is done that way. And if you understand how it works, even at a high level, at least you can make a sensible decision why something's not working.
Yes, that's pretty true. I mean, it allows us to diagnose issues. Usually it's, why isn't my mobile phone working when somebody's riding in a lift? Well, okay, try the Faraday cage. It's little things like that. And, your phone's not going to work in here because you've taken in your surroundings, because something we do, it's just sort of, something I do is, wherever I am, can I get a signal out of here is almost one of the first thoughts in my mind.
Yeah. Well, we were talking coming up about poor mobile phone reception on a train, and I suggested that they probably have metallised windows, where they keep the heat in. But obviously we can see out, but the wavelength our eyes can see is a much shorter wavelength for light than it is for, say, just above 23 SEMS, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes. So it's no wonder that you get poor mobile signals on radio and you keep hitting the digital cliff.
Yeah. So, If somebody wanted to get involved and come up here, what would they have to do to get involved as a member?
Well, get involved in the member of.
The Radio Society of Great Britain, and if they wanted to come and volunteer here.
Well, if you want to become a member of RSGB, that's very simple. You go along to rsgb.org and follow the links. You'll soon join up at that point. If you'd like to become, come along and visit the NRC, just come as a member of the RSGB, you get complimentary entrance to Bletchley Park at any time you want. Indeed, I'm here today on a complimentary ticket. So you can do that. If you want to become actually involved in helping out at the NRC, and we're always, the NRC always needs a team of volunteers. It's open 7 days a week at the moment, and that takes a large team of dedicated volunteers to come and do this and present our hobby to the general public. Then you just need to contact Martin Baker.
Yeah, well, Martin's here with us today, so we're going to catch him in a while. And I should have realised, being an RSGB member, that go to the website, I should have remembered that. And in fairness, if you visit the members section of the RSGB website, as Simone said, you do get a complimentary ticket, and you can just request a complimentary ticket, which gets you entrance. And I can't remember how much it costs to get in here, but 3 times a year, and you've more than paid for your RSG membership.
Absolutely, yes. 3 visits to Bletchley Park, bingo, done. But it's not cheap to come in because this site is, it takes a lot of maintenance. So I can understand the prices to come in, but it is a significant benefit to membership, to be able to come into Bletchley Park and enjoy the facilities here, because it doesn't matter how many times you come, you seem to find something you haven't learnt or understood.